Hello, my beautiful, shiny people. And we have Becky Farah is in the building. Woo! On Talks Tasha. And it's so good to have you here, Becky. And you're going to share about identity, self-leadership on this channel and really plugging into overcoming fear and stepping out and just being fabulously you. So Becky, welcome to Talks Tasha. It's so good to have you, and you're smiling away because you've got so much to talk about, haven't you, Becky? Introduce yourself to the audience.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. And yes, everybody, I am Becky Farah, and I am an identity and self-leadership speaker. And I specialise in supporting people through change, growth, transition, and identity expansion. Because one of the things that comes up, which I lived and breathed as I made one of the biggest decisions in my life, is fear. We are capable of so much. We have desire to do things. We have want to do things. We want to achieve goals and visions. But then we have the fear that then comes up, and we have to acknowledge that, learn to move with that. And so my theory supports people to see fear differently, because it's something that it's not comfortable. We don't like it. It feels not great. So a lot of us then go, not doing this. Like, this is scary. So I'm here today to help flip the relationship that we have with fear and see it and bring it in a different way to help people go towards their goals, the life that they want, the things that they want to do, being able to take fear with them.
Wow, you've so beautifully explained that. And so what got you to this place of sort of overcoming that fear, or still having the fear, but doing it? Where did you start for you? Where's the beginning for you, Becky?
At my own dance academy at the age of 19, I'd worked for myself. I had a beautiful business, but I've always been exceptionally passionate and interested in inner transformation. And it took me 3.5 years to navigate and fully make the change, because there's so much at stake. It was my own business. It was all I'd ever known. Ultimately, I teach identity and self-leadership. So my whole identity, my entire life from being 3 had been Becky the dancer. Like, Becky danced from being 3. Then it was Becky the dance teacher from being 19. I didn't know how to be any other person other than her. So I had this big pull in one aspect, and it's like I always joke to people, there's like that hokey cokey when it comes to change, because it's like we want it and we step forward, and then we get scared and we go back, and we want it and we step forward. And to cut a long story short, after 3.5 years of learning about myself, understanding more about myself, personal development, in the end, I was listening to an audio when I was walking my dog, and the question said, you are one decision away from a completely different life. And I just broke into tears, because I knew that what that was, my heart, everything was telling me I need to move away from teaching. And so I made the decision, and I still had the fear there, even once I'd made the decision. And so today it's not about not ever having that fear there. It's about learning to navigate it, understand it, and take it with us. Came next. I think the big fortunate thing for me is that I still had a business, and I haven't given that away. Other people run that for me, but I was in a really super fortunate position that I could make the change and just see where it took me. And ultimately, that's what I did. So I took a leap of faith. I got invited to speak at an event. So I wanted to finish teaching and move into like coaching and more personal development stuff through using my voice. And I was invited to speak at an event. And I had this thing of like, yeah, I'm going to speak about like fear, because that's the biggest thing in my story, in my life right now, in the season that I'm in. That's the biggest thing that I want to be able to share. And it was at the end of January, and I had this thought about the fear theory, and then I looked through an old journal, and I'd actually from 2023, and I'd got a bit of a framework in there about the fear theory. And I don't believe in coincidences. So I was like, this is what I'm going to go with. This is what I'm going to go with. This is what I'm going to talk about. And so I took a very basic, brief framework to an event called Inspire. But every time I share it on podcasts, workshops, events, everyone is just like, that's actually really simple. Like, it's really simple. And I'm so glad that I now can understand how I can meet my fear. I can understand my fear and I can move forward. So it's a very simple 4-part framework.
You have fear, you tend to, like you said, do the flight. And the flight is the shutdown. The flight is the ain't happening. And that is the delay in our lives. So it's knowing that, because it comes in an emotion, doesn't it? Or a wave, or it's like, oh, I can't. It's that, So, yeah, what is the steps towards this that you got to take?
So just before I go through the steps, I'll go back to what you said about it coming to us in an emotion, because it's true. So like, I sort of say to people, like, fear doesn't just go like, hey, it's fear, like, I'm here. Like, sometimes we can feel a bit scared of something. But for me, the main ones in my life that I've experienced it, like the everyday emotions: comparison, self-doubt, overthinking, overwhelm, perfectionism. I'm not really a people pleaser, but that's one of them that also comes up for people. Guilt is another one. So all of the things that we do that basically create a bit of a pause for us, all of those emotions that kind of come up, that they are fear responses. So my framework, F, is future focus. So this is tuning in to the version of ourselves that we want to be and who we are becoming. So when the fear comes up, the first thing that we've got to acknowledge is, but who do I want to be? Where do I want to go on the other side of this feeling that I'm feeling now? E is expansion capacity. And this is recognizing, understanding, and navigating the emotions and the internal experiences that come up for us during change. So this is a big, big part of the, obviously I can't go into too much detail, this is a big part of the framework, because this is where our past experiences come up, our nervous system is involved. But the biggest thing in this part, in this framework today, that can help people anything, is the voice of protection and the voice of expansion. So voice of protection is the stories, the beliefs, the conditioning that we come up with in our head that protects the current identity, that keeps us doing what we've always done, because the brain will always choose a familiar situation over an unknown, an uncertain, or an unfamiliar. I then say to people, let's answer that. Let's answer that with the voice of expansion. So the voice of expansion is the little inner cheerleader, the little positive Polly that's then going to go, well, why not? Why could you not do that? I believe, and this is my wholehearted belief, if we are not capable of doing something, it's not even brought into our imagination. So once we get the idea of what we want to do or where we want to go, that future focus, we've got the ability to be able to do it, because I genuinely believe it wouldn't be there for us if we couldn't. So after that, everything is just negotiation with fear. So the expansion capacity is understanding and learning all of that. There is a lot of work involved in that. So whilst it's a very simplistic framework, it's uncomfortable to dig out, because we've got to understand all our emotions. And again, the nervous system will always go first. So something will happen and the body will always go first if we don't feel safe. So it's about creating the safety for our nervous system, even at a stretch, that we can do and grow and cope with. Then we've got A, which is aligned action. And there's 2 parts to this framework. So we have one part, which is where self-trust and courage meet, and we take that one small step forward towards the version of us that we want to be and the future that we want to have. Or I'm also a huge advocate for an intentional pause, because we live in a world that is so fast, that demands so much of us, and that is tiring and exhausting, that sometimes aligned action for me is creating an intentional pause. That is so important, because when we are growing, we need time to integrate. We need time to recharge. We need time to, so there are 2 parts to this depending on where we're at with stuff, because I know if I've got some part of hesitation and I'm really, 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 really hesitating, that is time when I take an intentional pause, because I won't override that. There's just something in me that just don't quite feel right here. If there's like too much, I'm really not sure what I always say, then just take the pause, because it may well be that it's the right action, but it might not be the right time. So, yeah. And then the last one, the last one is reinforcing identity. So ultimately, the brain, through neuroscience, and I'm not a neuroscientist, but we know that the brain can be changed. Our thought processes can be changed. So by repetition, the brain loves repetition. So by repetition and reinforcement and reflection, we reinforce, strengthen, and stabilize the version of ourselves that we want to become. So, for example, really small things, and I always give like a really, really small example. I used to be somebody that at the end of a day, I couldn't have all my emails not answered. Okay, so I'll use a really everyday example. I would feel like my day was incomplete if I'd got all these emails there. It would make me feel like I've not achieved what I needed to do in that day, but eventually that became really tiring, because I just felt sometimes like I was shoveling snow when it was still snowing. So in that way, my future focus would be, who do I want to be and what do I want to achieve? I want to be the type of person that can get to the end of the day and I'm okay if I've got a few unanswered emails in there. That's what I'm aiming for. Initially, that's going to be, what if you don't reply to them right now? What will they think? What if you then get more emails tomorrow? Then you're going to get even further behind. So that's the voice of protection. The voice of expansion then goes, but it's impossible to keep on top of everything all the time. So it's okay to have unopened emails in there. It's then up to you to prioritize how you answer them. The A in the aligned action is then going, right, it's 5 o'clock now. I've got 4 emails in there, but my aligned action is, my courage is, I'm leaving that for today and I'm going to do this. And I'm going to take myself off and have an intentional pause. And the reinforcing identity part is doing that, then the next day, then the next day, then the next day, then the next day, because eventually then the voice of protection becomes even quieter. And eventually I become good with, I've got 25 answered emails in there today, but I'm good with finishing at 5 o'clock today. In fact, actually, I'm even good with finishing at 3:30 today, because I've made it safe for my brain and my body to accept. So it's about sometimes having compassion for ourselves with the decisions that we make, which is like, do you know what? I made that decision at the time because that was the right decision to make. There is no right or wrong, because that's where overthinking comes from. Overthinking comes because there's a meaning. This matters, and fear comes up because what we're experiencing at this moment in time, it matters. It's meaningful. It's there because we're on the edge of something that we don't know what's on the other side of it.
I like what you said, that you don't know what's on the other side of it. So that's what holds you back, isn't it? Because you have that fear and then you think, well, what if this, what if that? But it could be something so great on the other side of it that you're going to miss out on. These are really, really good tools to use. And I call these tools and I've written them down. But I like this intentional pause. That one stood out to me. It's just being intentional, just pausing for a minute in your life, just taking that pause or that breath and just reflecting where you're at in life. Because sometimes, like you said, we go on and on and on and we lose ourselves. We can actually lose our identity, who we are, but intentional pause. So I'm going to use that, just sometimes intentionally pausing and finding out where you are. So guys, you might need to have an intentional pause, that time to just reflect back and think, where am I in life? You know, am I allowing fear to govern me? Am I allowing fear to rule me? This is really, really good tools. It's really powerful as well and inspiring. And I hope some of you guys get something from this.
Our biggest strengths can also be our biggest weaknesses. And it wasn't until COVID came. So I mentioned I set up a business at 19. Like I'd been in dance my whole life. So dance is about, what's this little tweak that we can do to improve this? And how can we do this to get like the best exam results? And obviously I was a competitive dancer as well. So I'm in a competitive environment. So I grew up with all these, as I say, belief systems, conditionings about. So I definitely attached my worth and how much I validated myself and my enoughness to how much I was achieving. So I spent a lot of time learning that actually I'm whole and I'm enough without all of the other things, because we are just enough exactly as we are. You know, like snow globes. So like imagine like a 2 litre or 1 litre bottle of water. Imagine that's us as humans. And all our ideas and all what we've got to think about is glitter on the inside. And then we move through the day and the glitter's going all over. And even if we slow down and like, you know, read a podcast, well, imagine read a podcast, you know what I mean? Like read scrolling or what have you, or even listening to a podcast, our brain is then still taking something in. Okay, we're slowing the bottle down, but all the glitter's still moving about. The only way to create that space is to put that bottle down. And when that bottle goes on the side, all that glitter just completely falls to the bottom. The same amount of glitter in the bottle, but now all this glitter sitting at the bottom, we've got all this clear space on top. You know, I definitely think I need a visual. I thought about that today. So
wow, that I like that.
I think probably to summarise, it would just be, if there is something that's calling you forward in your life right now, or if you're feeling a little bit heavy, that change can be uncomfortable. I know that letting something go can be deeply upsetting. Get stronger by being given situations that develop our strength. We only become more courageous by going through situations that develop our courage. Being ready isn't a feeling, it is a decision. So make the decision to move and then allow everything else to catch up. So confident, like people think about, oh, you've got to be confident to move. You've got to be courageous to move. The confidence will come after.
Fantastic. So go and check out Becky's stuff. And thank you so much for coming on to Talks Tasha. So at the end of my videos and at the end of every single interview I do some little free questions, okay? And this is like a little, so people have a bit of know who you are. So the first question, what is your favourite colour?
Mint green.
Mint green. Oh, lovely. And your favourite food?
Oh, that's hard. I like all food. If I was to go with just one, I would probably have to say it would be a steak.
You like a steak medium rare?
No, rare. Like nearly.
You like it rare?
Yeah, I do.
Oh dear. Oh dear. That's not cooked, is it?
Sometimes not, but I like it like that.
And the last one is your favourite music. What do you like grooving down to? What do you like with your favourite music?
Well, being a dance teacher, I like a real mix of stuff. If I then had to go with it, I would have to go with the musical stuff. I could listen to songs from musicals all day because it transports me ultimately into that theatrical another world. So I love magic of the musicals.
You like good music. Actually, there's some good musicals out there, isn't there? There's you can't beat a good musical. And guys, please hit the like, share and subscribe button and let's push this content forward and push the message out there. And Becky, thank you so much for coming on Talks Tasha, and we'll see you guys on the other side. See you later, guys. Bye-bye.